Hello and welcome to History Time. In today's episode, I plan to unravel the mystery behind a street name, Kalvi Varu Street, a narrow stretch in the Mylapore area. It has for long puzzled people who was Kalvivaru or what was Kalvivaru. And it seems that I do have an answer for that mystery. Come, join me in exploring the history and the reason for the name Kalvivaru Street. As we all know, the Buckingham Canal was dug as a famine relief measure. I have spoken about this in an earlier episode, and in that I had mentioned that early in the 19th century, two canals were dug. The first one was known as the North Canal or Cochrane's Canal, and that connected the northern end of Madras city to Pulicat, and from then on to a series of waterways taking it all the way to Andhra. And that is from where timber was coming into the city. Later, a south canal was dug, beginning from Adyar and going all the way up to Kadalur. In 1875, as part of famine relief measures, the Duke of Buckingham and Chandos, who was then the governor of Madras, in 1875, as part of famine relief measures, the Duke of Buckingham and Chandos, who was then the governor of Madras, decided that the North Canal and the South Canal had to be linked via a water body that would flow through the city. And therefore, work began on digging what would eventually become the Buckingham Canal. Advantage was taken of the fact that there was a river called the Mylapore River which flowed north to south. It started off somewhere near the North Canal and came all the way up to near Central Station. And so much of the channel of that river was used, and then for the rest of the distance, a channel was dug, and this eventually became Buckingham Canal. On both sides of the canal, there was a narrow road. It started from where the Kuvam River meets the Buckingham Canal at the northern end of the city and ended at the southern end where the Adyar River met the Buckingham Canal. This was known as Canal Bank Road, Kalvi Varu Street. We now come to what is known as Kalvivaru Street. It is actually a part of Canal Bank Road, or it should be a part of Canal Bank Road. Canal Bank Road, incidentally, in Tamil is known as Kalvi Varu Street. The portion that is Kalvivaru Street links two bridges. One is the Kacheri Road Bridge and the other is the Ambedkar Bridge, which at one time was known as Hamilton's Bridge, later became Amberton Bridge, then Babur's Bridge, and then finally today it is known as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Bridge. The portion, as I said, that links these two bridges is today's Kalvivaru Street. Why is it that the rest of the long road is known as Canal Bank Road or Canal Road, and it is only this portion that is known as Kalvivaru Street? And who or what is Kalvivaru? When did this street name come about? These are all various questions that come up in our mind. We should remember in the early part of the 20th century, this entire area, that is Luschurch Road and then Royapeta High Road and parts of Mylapore were all owned by very prominent lawyers and judges. One of them was Sir V. Bhashyam Iyengar. He lived in an enormous bungalow known as Lakshmi Vilas, which is where the Kamadhenu Theatre would come up later, and even that has now been demolished. Bhashyam Iyengar owned a large tract of land on the side of the Buckingham Canal, and this was known as Vembakkam Gardens. Vembakkam was the name of his ancestral village, and that is why it was known by that name. At one end of Vembakkam Gardens, the Buckingham Canal was flowing, and that end is the portion that is known as Kalvivaru Street. In the 1940s, the Bhashyam Iyengar family began to develop much of that area by selling off Vembakkam Gardens as plots of land. And in 1950s, one large section, which was owned by the Mylapore Ladies Club, became the Vidya Mandir School. And if we go to the end of Vidya Mandir School, we'll find that a large section of its rear wall abuts what is known as Kalvivaru Street. In Bhashyam Iyengar's mind, This particular location was perfect for a market where goods and produce could be bought by boat. And therefore, he designed what was known as the Tannir Thurai market early in the 1900s. His idea was that boats that were coming in from the north or from the south would bring in various items, and these would be offloaded in a wharf near the Kacheri Road Bridge, and from that wharf, hand-drawn carts would then take the goods to the Tannir Thurai market. The name Tannir Thurai itself means by the waterside. What a wonderful and green initiative it must have been early in the 1900s, before such ideas became fashionable. And Tannir Thurai market flourished for a long period of time, right till the 1960s. Veterans of the Mylapore area remember as to how tiles, ropes, rice, salt, several vegetables would be brought by boat, offloaded, and then taken to the Tannir Thurai market. So there was a wharf by the Kacheri Road Bridge where these boats would come and halt. Now let us turn our attention to the Hamilton turned Amberton turned Barber turned B.R. Ambedkar Bridge. There again there was a wharf, and that wharf was used for offloading timber and firewood. There was a huge firewood go down that stood exactly where the city centre mall is today. And so, at both ends of what is today Kalvi Varu Street, there were two wharves. One wharf at the Kacheri Road end, the other wharf at the Hamilton Bridge end. And therefore, this road linking the two of them was known as Canal Wharf Road. It is interesting to see that even as late as 1962, the government of Madras was sanctioning money for the repair and maintenance of these two wharves. They had even built a rest house for boatmen. Recently, we have heard about air-conditioned shelters for gig workers, for people who are going around delivering food and other products. In those days, they thought of such a shelter for boatmen, and they had constructed it exactly where these two wharves were. And then in 1965-66, some people say 67, a terrible cyclone hit the city and much of the banks of the Buckingham Canal were destroyed. Thereafter, the river became a gutter. There were stories about how it would be revived, but that was never to be. In the 1980s, the pillars of the MRTS were placed right in the heart of the Buckingham Canal, and even today, if you look up at Kalvi Varu Street, overhead you will find the MRTS bridge going. In such a situation, the water body can never be revived. What happened to the wharves? What happened to the boatmen's rest? Everything vanished over a period of time. And the road that linked the two wharves, which was known as Canal Wharf Road, became in Tamil Kalvi Varu Street, which over a period of time became Kalvi Varu Street, and finally it became Kalvi Varu Street. Today, when you ask people, yaar sir in the Kalvi Varu, they'll tell you, in Pondicherry there is a Kalve Chetty family and it is named after them. Our imagination knows no bounds. The Pondicherry Chetty family had nothing to do with this Mylapore area. If that is not a satisfactory explanation, they'll say Vidya Mandir school is there, so Kalvi, education, that is why it is named. Then why is the Varu attached if it's only Kalvi? Why is it not just Kalvi? For that, nobody seems to have any explanation. So it's very interesting to see that in a period of 60 years, what was once a canal is no longer a canal. Where there were wharves, there are no longer any wharves. Tannir Thurai market vanished and became a high-rise residential building. The firewood go down vanished and became a mall. And the street that linked the two got a name that nobody can understand. Such is the evolution of history and such is the passage of time. If you like this episode, like it, share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. And I will be back with you next week with further interesting episodes from the history of Madras, that is Chennai. Bye for now.